order. Good morning, everyone. Bright and early Monday morning. We do have, I need a motion and a second to grant of leave of absence to Commissioners Johnson and Sampat, who are both out of town.
So moved.
Second.
Pam, if you could have a roll call vote for us, please.
Yes, Commissioners Adams, Commissioner Adams. Looks like she's frozen. Commissioner Koba,
Aye.
Devon,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Luther,
Aye.
Nemi,
Aye.
Strader,
Aye.
and Commissioner Adams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you. Colleagues, I wanted to let you know that we received quite a bit of public comment, written public comment from about 70 people. I wanted to take a moment and acknowledge all of those individuals who took the time to share their thoughts with us. The vast majority of those comments are opposed to the revocation of the Commission's social equity policy, which we will be discussing this morning. I certainly understand the sentiment from those submitting public comments. Appreciate that sentiment. This is obviously a challenging topic for all of us, and for those that are taking the time to share their thoughts and opinions with us. We truly appreciate that and can't thank them enough for sharing that information with us. So I wanted to share all of that with you this morning, as well as thanking them for taking the time for submitting their comments. We have one action item this morning, and I'm going to ask Curtis to present the agenda item.
Good morning, commissioners. Thank you, President Koba. Let me start first. What I'd like to do is give you a little bit of situational context and then talk about today's action and maybe just briefly touch on the port's commitments as an organization before we move on to any questions or discussion. Let me also say I read through all the comments. They're really thoughtful. They're terrific. I really appreciate the engagement from our community and honestly the passion with which folks are sharing concerns about this vote, concerns I certainly understand. So by way of situational context, as the port's mission makes clear, we are committed to serving everyone in our region and building shared prosperity through travel, trade, and economic development. I think folks know that is our mission. In order to continue doing work that reflects our core values and to foster a workplace where everyone can thrive, it's really critical that we do everything we can to make sure the funding needed to maintain port operations is not at risk. And I think, as all of you know, not only is PDX federal grant dependent, but due to our dredging contract with the Army Corps of Engineers, which was established by an act of Congress in 1962, the port is a designated federal contractor. And it has of late become clear that we must meet federal compliance expectations. And so we need to assess where we are in compliance with federal law, and in some cases take steps to ensure we meet compliance expectations, including revisiting certain policies. So today's action, this is really why we think it's important for the Commission to revisit the social equity policy. We want to make sure the port meets federal compliance expectations so that we can continue to provide the region with these critical travel and trade pieces of infrastructure, create new opportunities for our community, and foster a workplace where everyone can thrive. So today I'm recommending the Commission vote to revoke the policy and in its place, direct port staff to ensure we continue doing business in a way that reflects our core values and stays focused on creating opportunity for everyone in our region. Following today's meeting, we'll evaluate whether our existing administrative policies provide a framework that fosters a workplace where all can thrive. And if they do not, we'll amend an existing policy or adopt a new one. So before we move on, just briefly on a commitment to people and values. As all of you know, this organization is vibrant and rich and deeply connected to the community. We all know the regulatory landscape will keep evolving, and we know that we need to continually evaluate and be responsive to those changes. And one thing that will not change is the port's commitment to our values and to the people of our region. Honestly, from internal operations and culture to our high impact projects that folks in the community know about, we'll stay focused on making life better for all of our employees and our community now and into the future. So with that, Madam President, I recommend revoking the social equity policy and open to questions or conversation.
Thank you, Curtis. I'm sure that there are many that have questions or comments, so I will take the time to make sure I see anyone that does have questions or comments. Thoughts to share? Good morning, Commissioner Luther.
Good morning. Thank you for that commitment, Curtis. It's really important context for all of us as we, contemplate what I personally find to be a very troubling situation to be in and having to vote. I have been reflecting on the core mission of this organization, the port, which, to provide economic prosperity to everyone, and I think is a mission that everyone can get behind and believe in, and particularly in these economic times. And as I understand, and on advice of counsel in the current environment, the trade-off risk in my mind is to the very mission that we purport to want and the people that we are here to serve puts at risk, very vital funding. And so I am in taking a vote today, very much relying on the commitments that you have just shared and the values. And I would say that, my vote today will reflect confidence in the leadership and the values and character of leadership, and more importantly, the employees of the port whose everyday actions shape the way that the Port of Portland shows up in really important ways and continues to create an organization that is frankly a pride of the region and purports itself in a way that I think we are all very proud of. So with that, there's no further question from me, but just wanted to make sure the context of my vote is expressed.
Thank you, Commissioner Luther, for your very thoughtful comments. Others? Commissioner Lamb, good morning.
Good morning. I think that no questions, our airport is still committed to being respectful and creating a space for everybody belonging in this community. And I'd like to know, Curtis, what is the results if we don't get these funding?
Thank you, Commissioner Lamb. We think the number is roughly $145 million of federal investment in the port. Some of that is operating. As an example, the dredge itself, as you know, is over 50 people, 8 year round, and about 50 seasonally. They're on the river about 9 months of the year, and they operate the dredge. It's those sorts of programs that we think are at risk if we are out of compliance. There are a number of others. As an example, you recently approved a PIDP grant out at Terminal 6 for paving. We also received funding for one of our K9 programs inside PDX. It's just honestly, it is a litany of programs, FAA grants for taxiways. I'll say, if this were a small portion of our program or our organization, this might be an easier conversation. It is a substantial portion of our funding, and it is across the entire business.
Thank you. I think that we should take our staff, our people into consideration. I think this is temporary, right? It's different words, but no question, it's the same heart, the same leadership. It's about the commitment, staying true to who we are. I think our values doesn't live in the policies, it's in us. So I think we really need to take our staff, their livelihood into considerations. And these work is a journey. And I think we shouldn't change our values or our policy due to one bad actor. At this point, I think we just need to really keep what are we in creating this policy, or, holding up our values for what. And I invite each of us here taking this action with the 10 years, 20 years backwards, not just now, right? So those are things that I reflect. This is hard for me to vote. Thank you.
Commissioner Lamb, thank you for your thoughtful comments. Commissioner Adams, and then Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you, Chair Koba. And thank you, Curtis, for your leadership on this. I share Commissioner Lamb's the weight of the moment and the reality that we face. I also share Commissioner Luther's confidence in the team and leadership. One other thought for you that I want to be clear about what my expectation is, and I think most of the board shares this expectation, that it's often thought that policy drives reality, and our expectation is that reality will drive whatever, the policy's desired effect, or that we will continue to see it in the work. I'd also like to acknowledge that this is a very hard decision. It's a hard reality. It's a hard decision in a boiling vat of hard reality. So I acknowledge the moment, the importance of the port in our economy, and to the region. And I appreciate the straightforward approach to this and acknowledge the difficulty. We look forward to continuing to see the impact of these ideas in reality, day-to-day life, hiring, economic activity, shared prosperity. I look forward to talking about it more in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams. Commissioner Stewart.
Oops. Pardon me. I believe we all come at this with great trepidation and disappointment in the position that we put in this particular environment. But I also have great confidence actually in the port team to continue to keep our core values in mind as we push forward. The port's a very important incubator for our community at large. And I think these values will continue to be consistent. It just requires us to monitor them and make sure that we stay true to our core values. So I have great confidence, even though I'm not particularly comfortable with where we are today. It seems as if this hand's been played and this is where we are. So unfortunately, here we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Commissioner Devon.
Thank you. First, I have a question for clarification on the second part of the resolution about revisiting, or if necessary, coming up with a new or modifying existing administrative policy. I'm just looking for a little more clarification on what kinds of things might trigger that, and just get a more plain understanding of what we mean by the second part of the resolution there.
Thank you, Commissioner Devon. One of the things we feel like we need to do is do a complete assessment on the organization to make sure we're in compliance. And we have done some of that work already. if we proceed here, then our team would sit down together and have some process to look at our compliance across the organization, and we'd most likely have that led by Dan Blaufus in conjunction with some of our other executive team members who have some of those functions. But what we'd like to do is have a look and see where we have concerns about compliance. Honestly, we don't have a sort of top line. We don't have a lot of those, but in a few of those areas, we'd want to make changes where appropriate. I think the first thing we need to do is have a look at that. Most of that work can be done without commission action. If you give us the direction, we can do those things administratively, but we'd like clarity that that is the road we're headed down. I might phone a friend here to Dan Blaufus and just make sure, am I missing anything on the approach here, Dan, and maybe just on the compliance approach?
Yeah, I think there's two sides to that. One is the compliance look that Curtis is referring to, where we're kind of doing a good faith audit just to see, where some of the concepts might be not in compliance, and so we're taking a good faith look at that. The other part of the direction from the commission is really, we want to be clear that you want us to live into our values. And so the look at our existing policy, or the need for a new policy, is to be crystal clear about that we are, we want to create a workplace where everyone can thrive. Everyone has a sense of belonging and accessibility to opportunities and whatnot, just as we've, just as we want for small businesses, just as we want for, all corners of our community. So that it's really it's a little bit more of a direction toward the values statement, while at the same time we're also doing a good faith audit.
Thank you, Dan. The part I'd like to register here is something that's been on my mind about how we approach the decision making in this very tough situation. And obviously there are multiple ways to approach a particular decision. And in some ways we're being forced to make a trade-off, obviously, that we really don't want to make. But in the consideration of our duty, or at least in my view, our duty as my duty, I should say, I don't want to speak for everybody, as a commissioner, and fulfill our mission of trade, travel, and economic development, I think we have to consider the primacy of our duty in deciding how to weigh this particular vote. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you, Commissioner Devon. Any other thoughts or comments that anyone wants to share? All right, I'm not seeing any. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. With that, can I get a motion and a second for approval of the executive director's recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
I'm going to have Pam do a roll call vote, and just to confirm that an aye vote is a revocation of the social equity policy. A no vote would be to keep the policy in place. Pam?
Commissioners Adams,
Aye.
Koba,
Aye.
Devon,
Aye.
Lamb,
Aye.
Luther,
Aye.
Nemi,
No.
and Strader.
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion carries. Thank you. Before we adjourn, I just wanted to share my thoughts as well. I appreciate so much each and every one of you and the consideration that you've brought to this morning's discussion. I know this has been something that we've all been trying to wrap our heads around, and will continue into the future. But I do want to say that I have the utmost confidence in this amazing commission and the values that each of you bring, and that's not going to change. I have the utmost confidence in the port leadership and the values that they demonstrate day in and day out, and that's not going to change. And to our staff, to our valued business partners, to our valued customers, to all of those that work at the port, you have my commitment as president of the commission, and I think I can speak for the commission, that we will continue to believe in those values, that we will continue to demonstrate those values, that shared prosperity is absolutely something that's critical for all of us. We have opportunities, we still do, and we will continue to live those day in and day out. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for what you bring to the table and for what you will bring to the table going forward from here. So thank you very much, and I will adjourn the meeting.